Core TV News, expanding your view.
Back on the show, in case you're just joining us, no areas, no work. That's what doctors, medical doctors are saying across the states in Nigeria as the doctor strike bites harder. Now, the local parlance, they say where two elephants fight, the grass underneath gets to suffer. What's the fate of sick people like, especially average Nigerians who do not have financial ability to access private hospitals in Nigeria? In the light of that, just found this on one of the newspapers. NUT threatens strike over non-payment of allowance. Now, NUT has also threatened to go on strike over non-payment of their peculiar allowance of 27.5% for teachers in Unity schools. And as we're still saying that, don't forget about the ASUP strike. Polytechnics to have been on strike for several months now as we speak. I'm still here with a legal practitioner, Tunde Kolawole, as well as a public affairs analyst. Thank you for staying the course
It's a pleasure being
on
here.
the show. ASUP has been on strike for long, close to a year now. I mean, what's place that side by side with the enemy strike? Do you see the enemy going on strike for that long without instant government intervention?
No, I don't think that will be possible.
So what's the difference between polytechnic lecturers and medical doctors in Nigeria?
It's all about our value system. It's all about our value system. It's not as if the teachers in the polytechnic are less important than the medical doctor. But you find that when you look at our priorities in this country, education has not always ranked high.
Yeah.
And so to that extent, people can say to places with teachers in the polytechnic, let them continue the sack as long as they wish. It could also be that even most people, most parents who have their wards or children in those polytechnics, most of the students who are also there, they're thinking for them because of the value system that I have identified is for the average Nigerian person want to be in the university. So there's probably sit at a stopgap after I finish the polytechnic education. Some might still be planning to go to the university. And I'm saying that should not be the appropriate thing. For example, the polytechnic students don't have an alternative. Whereas if the doctors are on strike, you and I, if we are affected, we can go to the private clinic and then get our health challenges addressed. But like I said, because our value system, nobody is talking about the polytechnic strike that's been going on for almost 1 year.
Are there no better options for doctors and other unions in Nigeria to make their demands apart from strike actions?
There are. For example, the court is one of those things.
Just a minute, barrister. Just a minute. Let's take this from Mojisola OK from Oyo. So in spite of the billions of dollars our politicians waste on politicking and embezzling daily, people are left without the services of hospitals, and our youth in the polytechnics and colleges of education remain idle hands. As a government, you can either serve the people or yourself. You cannot do both. Thank you, Mojisola, for your contribution. You were talking about alternative to strike actions.
No, there are a couple of alternatives. For example, if you said the government has signed an agreement with you, like they did sign with ASU, and like the medical doctors are claiming that these people signed an agreement with us as full consenting adults, and they don't want to abide by that agreement, you can, for example, go to the industrial court and say, look, these people signed an agreement with us. Court compel them to honor the agreement that they voluntarily and willingly entered into. And I'm sure the court will look at the merit of some of these things and all that, and then pass it's a judgment or give it's a judgment or verdict or whatever complaint laid before the court. And once it becomes a court decision and all, the government is compelled or is banned to obey the whatever decision that the court may have arrived at. So that is one option. The other is a form of a sensitization. I don't think most of these professionals actually embark on enough sensitization. Take, for example, the polytechnic strikes and all that. It's only on the pages of the newspaper, for example, that I heard that the polytechnic students outside. And also when some of their students came onto the street of Lagos, that's when I began to realize that there's a lot of problem that this problem in the polytechnic have not been addressed. And also, those professionals who want to embark on strike, they can do some campaign on the pages of newspaper. They can also embark on pressure visits to the National Assembly, to some of these government hospitals and other, which people in the media will carry. That kind of pressure also has a way of getting government to honor the agreement and then address some of the issues that that exist in some of those. I gave you an example of my visit to some of these teaching hospitals and the deplorable state in which I find those hospitals and all that. When Channel Television aired the deplorable state of the police college in Ikeja, and they broadcast it and all that, what happened? The government was forced to begin to address the problem, even though they tried to play some fast game on the channel. But the public were aware of the deplorable state of the police. Also, there is nothing stopping for the medical doctors, for example, also taking the media people to cover some of these hospitals, to speak with the patients in there, and then do some enlightenment program, which to some message could become a very big embarrassment, not just to the government and the executive, but also to the people in the National Assembly. These are some of the steps that these people can actually take without embarking on strike that leads to massive loss of life all over the country.
Let's take a couple of messages from our social media feeds. Akeem Karim from Lagos. There's no debating on infrastructure as most hospitals are so far behind. But the other demands of the NMA are highly questionable by international standards. Haba, is there any focus here in this country? Okay, let's just check out for more now from our Facebook feeds, if we have other feeds coming up on the screen now, okay? Henry Asede from Abeokuta, people are dying every day, and federal government and doctors are preparing to debate. The debate we want is not in words. We want hospitals, polytechnics and colleges of education to be opened and functional again, not an unproductive debate between two fighting masquerades. Harry, good to hear from you. What do you think about this public debate that the Minister of Health is calling? Is asking NMA to come out and have a public debate with the federal government over these issues. Is that the way forward now?
If I were members of the NMA, I would accept it, the challenge, because like I said, enlightenment sometimes can be very, very fundamental and crucial in some of these matters. If the government is saying, look, we have no skeletons in our cupboard, we have given the medical doctor all that they require to be given, and the doctors are saying no. So the public will be better informed if that kind of
Are we looking at a referendum where people will vote whether the strike continues or not? What impact really does that have?
When in some societies before associations or unions can embark on strike, they call in their members to come and vote. It's only here in Nigeria that it's just the leadership that will take such a decision. It would have been more democratic for you to do a referendum on the propriety of some of these strikes. In fact, if referendum are called, most of these strikes wouldn't have been taken because the rank and file may actually not agree with the strike, but it's just the leadership that say, look, for us to be able to get this on this decision we are taking, because they actually most time don't consult with their different constituents before they begin on this line of action.
Well then, many have also talked about the human face to all of this. Place this lingering strike side by side with the oath that the medical doctors took and the passion for human life, which many believe should be a fundamental, passion for every man or woman who wants to join the medical profession. What do you make of it? Are we looking at a profession that is quickly losing its value and its basic value system, so to speak?
Permit me to say that it's not just the medical doctors alone. All over the world, there are certain categories of professionals or service providers that are considered very, very essential and also sensitive. The law profession, with due respect, is one of it. Medicine is one. Even the academicians are also one of it. When such persons want to embark on strike, they ought to consider a lot of variables, a lot of factors. And such decisions should be taken with a lot of sensitivity to the health of the society. But in this part of the world, just like you rightly say, it's not just the bureaucratic oath that they too. Even the lawyers, even the academicians, and one way or the other, they also have some commitment to the society at large. That's not that we no longer place any premium, any value on those oaths that we take before we actually embark on these strikes. We have seen in this country which magistrates have gone on strike before in this country. And if you know the role that magistracy plays in the society, it's an enormous. I'll give you an example. Almost about 60 or 70% of cases that go to courts and not actually go to the magistrate court. And a lot of people are in prison for one reason or the other. And you and I know about the prison congestion and the other. But so when magistrates go on strike and other, and we don't also forget that most people submit to the jurisdiction of court, including the magistrates and all that. Decisions that affect the court, decision on business, decision on contracts and all that. And when these issues are not adequately or speedily resolved and all that, it has very, very serious implications on the health of the economy.
Just hold your
in terms
thoughts
of
for
the
a minute,
quantum of
Master.
naira and losses that are incurred on a daily basis.
Godswill Okiyi Lagos is the wise option challenging the doctors to a debate, or is it to invest in infrastructure and manpower so that the doctors can do their jobs? The doctors want arrears. The federal government replies with a challenge to debate, and the masses are crawling into early graves. What a government. All right, let's take other messages coming up on our Facebook platform. AGK Echeta from Imo. Ban all private doctors from working in public hospitals. Bring competition between private and public sector. Start an association for hospital doctors. Give hospital doctors cushioned dollars along with perks. Start upgrading the hospitals. Show that Nigerians matter. Well, you know, prior to this time, we used to have free access to hospital quality medical care from the public sector. But unlike those good days in Nigeria, what we have now is even politicians who have health challenges would prefer to travel out of the country to cater for themselves. Some have suggested that maybe we should limit health care services, even to politicians within the confines of this country. Just like they've suggested that children of politicians should attend public schools. Then politicians as well and their family should also go to public hospitals whenever they are sick. Do you buy that idea?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That is the appropriate thing to do. But whether it's going to be feasible to legislate on it is a different thing entirely. I would want to look at it as a moral question. If you say you are presiding over society, either as governors, as ministers, and all that, whatever services that you provide for such people are what you yourself as a person should subject yourself to, should participate in and all that. For example, you never see an American politician or a president and all that travel out to America and say, look, I'm going to Germany for medical treatment. Whatever a society cannot provide for him, for God's sake, the average American politician will shy away from using such services. In a place like India, for example, I'm aware that you cannot be holding public office and use a car that is not produced in India. That you go to an hospital that is not a public hospital. That your child will go to a private school when the public schools are not adequately provided for. It's a moral question. And it is the party. And that is why I'm very, very particular about this, that you also should dictate the direction in which public office holders take when they go into office. I do remember, for me, if I were in the party, in some of these parties, there's going to be a code of ethics to say, look, once we give you a platform as a political party, you hold a public office, you as a minister, and the legislature, these are the do's and don'ts. Remember, also, when we begin to look at it from that perspective and all that, you will find out this society will be with a better work. Because if you don't send your child to a public school and you don't know what happened in some of those public schools, or you don't attend the general hospitals and you don't know what is happening, and it's very, very difficult for you to be able to provide infrastructure for such. But if you go in there, for example, you have some health challenges, or your relation has some health challenges, or your daughter or your son has some of those challenges, and then the facilities are not any days. For God's sake, by the time you go back to government house, you will tend to quickly provide for some of those places. But because they're insulated, they are governing from the sky. So to say, they don't know what is happening to you and I. And that is the reason why we have the deplorable that the situation continues to degenerate in most of these public places. About if you compare them, morally, it may not be legally, to subscribe to whatever they're able to provide for us, I am sure there's going to be considerable improvement somewhere in most of these places.
You established earlier that protests, civil protests and strike actions like this are fundamental human rights. But then, would you suggest any way that the legislature can amend this law so that we can avoid an abuse? Just before that, let's take this comment. Echo EVA from Calabar. Doctors came up with 24 demands, but none included double dipping, where one works for public and private, thereby compromising their interest for the patient. They want updated facilities, but no mentioning of an end to quack hospitals. These doctors should fear God. Would you say that that law needs to be amended?
Yeah, it is possible to amend the law by prescribing maybe longer notice to be given before doctors embark on strike.
Well, has notice really been the issue in this case?
It may not be. You can also say, for example, before certain professionals go on strike, they must go through mediation,
Okay.
subject themselves to mediation, and then you set up a mediatory body, because society must find solutions to challenges and problems that they do confront. You don't want law and order to break down, you don't want anarchy to set in. So if you say before you go on strike, you must subject yourself to arbitration by some certain body that's going to be set up, and that is going to be independent of both the government and then the striking workers and thereabout. There may be some solution. Furthermore, you could also say that before anybody embarks on strike, they must subject it to a kind of referendum within the rank and file of their members, so that they vote on it, and it's after the majority has carried the day that then they can embark on such. These are some of the measures that you can put in place to really contain some of these incessant strike. But that also has its own limitation, because like you rightly identify, some of the sites that we have in this country today, in a way, when you look at the Ondato, they have political Ondato. They have political Ondato in the sense that when lots of people look at the salaries and allowances and the benefits that public office holders do get and all that, and then they look at the pattern that they take home, whatever laws and checks and balances that you put in place are never likely to be able to save the day. If all these disparities still exist in some of these places, if the public office holders are still behaving in this immoral and highly unethical manner in which they have embarked on the management of society, and the pecuniary benefit that they ascribe to themselves as a people. You will remember the former governor of CBN saying that as large as 30% of the national resources goes to servicing just the National Assembly alone. For God's sake, that is criminal.
Just a minute, Barrister. KG Daniels is sending us coming from Ibadan. Ask Jonathan while he went to Germany to treat knee pain. Yaradua why he died in Saudi. Akoinle why she died in India. The answer is simple. There are no hospitals. In Nigeria, a health center in the U.S. is better than National Hospital Abuja. A nation builder will address this anomaly, but a nation looter will only profit from it. What do you say categorically, Barrister, that the government is not doing enough as regards provision of health care?
There is no doubt about that. Like I said, my immediate elder brother died of cancer about 60 days ago. Before he died, he had about 3 or 4 operations. And after the operation, there's what we call chemotherapy, or thereabout, some extra thing that they subject you to kill the cancer cells that is still in the body. But you will not believe it, in I won't mention the hospital, in the university teaching hospital that we took him to, they had only one chemotherapy machine, and the chemotherapy machine has broken down. And for them to be able to service or to maintain, they have to write to the Minister of Health in Abuja. The medical director in that teaching hospital cannot even take the decision as regards when and how much it will cost to repair. They have to write to this thing. And why would a teaching hospital have just one chemotherapy machine when they have a ward that will have more than about 300 people who are being treated for cancer? So these are some of the challenges. That is just one unit in the hospital. Go to the other different hospitals as well. Ordinary suture things that will require to wood and other chemical reagents that will require to do some of the laboratory tests and other, they are not there. They will refer you to outside laboratory for you to be able to do some of this. So there is no doubt about that, most of the hospitals in this country are not being adequately funded.
But let's do a little x-ray on this challenge. Is it a challenge of inadequate resources to make this thing happen, or is just a challenge? I don't want to believe it's just a problem of willpower on the part of leadership. Is it that Nigeria is stranded, we don't have enough funds to procure these facilities? Where exactly do you think the problem lies?
We have more than ample funds to be able to provide for all phases of our lives, whether they be health, whether they be schools, whether they be the roads, which are also in deplorable states and other. But the bane of this society has been that of corruption and lack of accountability. And furthermore, the citizens of this country they are not vigilant, they don't hold the leadership accountable. I will give you 2 examples. The governor of my own state, which is Kwara State, the former governor of my own state, which is Kwara State, Dr. Bukola Saraki, sent to the House of Assembly in Kwara State that when he retires, they should build a house for him in Ilorin as his retirement benefit, another one in Lagos, and another one in Abuja as his retirement benefit, and also very huge salaries and allowances after he has left us. You will not believe it. When the State Assembly was debating that piece and another, nobody raised an eyebrow throughout the length and breadth of Kwara State. Godswill Akpabio has also did similar things, said about 100 million alone will be for his medical facilities on a year and all that. If the citizens are vigilant and all that, these are issues that they should address. When such bills are sent to the National Assembly and to the different House Assembly and all that, you rise up and go to those assemblies and say, look, we are not going to tolerate take this obscene pacusa that these people want to allocate themselves and all that. Because, for example, it's all over the world. Like the Yoruba people say, if you give a madman a hoe, he will hold to his own side. So long as you leave this public office holder to do whatever they like without any pressure from any quarter, you continue to go away with some of this thing. And the other thing about it, when the house in Ilorin was completed with Bukola Saraki, he also said he doesn't like the house again, that they should monetize it. He now want the money. And the entire people of Kwara State, for God's sake, my brother, they are keeping quiet. So the people have to be vigilant, so that public office holders don't continue to abuse their office.
Just a minute, because I want to find out how people can actually be actively vigilant. Unduka Unwanocha from Asaba. Maybe they should ban politicians from traveling abroad for care once they get the infrastructures in place. But no, they will continue with more excuses. For instance, I don't trust Nigerian doctors. Where have we gone with this medical system? Let's take all the comments. In case you're just watching, you just joined us, it's facebook.com/Core TV News, and we'd love to have your opinion too on the show. We'll take more comments subsequently on the show. But Barrister, you talked about the vigilance of the people. You talk about people being proactive. Exactly. How exactly can that be done?
Yeah, it's by organizing themselves into pressure group. Take, for example, since we have the challenge of...
Because the issue of civil society organization has also been politicized in Nigeria, unfortunately.
There's no doubt about that. In fact, for some people now, civil society organization, or managing a civil society organization has become a meal ticket for certain people. But we should not generalize. We shouldn't say because certain people are abusing it that we still don't have to use it as a leverage on the government. Look at what the Ogoni people have been able to do to themselves. When they saw that the environment was being violated or being degraded and all that, they formed themselves into a community. And they've been putting good pressure on the government. And then they've been getting 1 or 2 concessions from the government. It's difficult. Other communities can do that. So organizations like the NMA, organizations like ASU, organizations like the Nigeria Bar Association can lead the pressure. They can come together, the NLC, they can all come together and begin to organize themselves into pressure groups. And when government are doing certain things that are not too good for the health of society, they can begin to approach the appropriate authorities to say, look, we are not going to take any of this. Take, for example, the salaries and allowances of the National Assembly people that we will be complaining about. What stops all these NMA, MBA, market women and all that from marching to the National Assembly and say, look, until the National Assembly review their salaries and allowances and all that, we are never going to leave the premises of the National Assembly. I'm sure that the people in the National Assembly will take a cue from that and look, it's appear that our slaves are becoming wiser. They're never going to take any of this anymore. And then they begin to look at some of this things. And I also go back to party structure. You see, I'm very particular about political parties.
Just a minute, Barrister. Yeah. Joe King, Ijebu Igbo, the doctors are not being smart with their striking tactics. If they wanted support, they should have taken an even-handed approach with the inclusion of the support of the other allied health professionals. NMA is a pressure group, not a registered union. You know, when you talk about these pressure groups, NMA, ASU coming together to make demands, the challenge we might also have is the possibility of a political opposition hijacking this cause, just like the SSS is saying concerning the Bring Back Our Girls movement. You know, for instance, now you have some comrade-like doctors, you know, who call themselves leaders of pressure groups. Some have even said that most of these strikes come at the eve of major elections in Nigeria. Put all of that together. What impact does politics have on all of this in Nigeria?
It has a lot. There's no doubt about it. I give you an example. Most of these union or professional bodies are not as homogeneous as you want to look at it from the pages of a newspaper. If you go to the ASU, for example, there are some of their members who are in PDP, some in APC, some in Labour, and what have you. If you go to the medical profession, to the NMA, and I'm sure you'll find their member scattered in some of these places. So if you now ask them to start making political demands, which could be described as political demands and all that, chances are that the kind of a situation that we saw in 1983 between the civil service union led by Ujeli and then the other one led by, I think, the Wahabi Good Luck and all that, in which government now went into their ranks and all that. Government was supporting the civil service workers union led by Ojeli, and then the radical element in society were behind the Wapi good luck and all that. And then they politicized. At the end of the day, the message was lost in the post. About my thinking is that most times a good cause is easy to identify with. When people find a good cause, the Nigerian people are intelligent people, they're able to identify with it. And the majority of people will know, look, these people are fighting for a good cause. Take for example June 20, when somebody was said to have won the election and other, whether you were Hausa, whether you were Igbo, when the whole Nigerians said, look, for God's sake, this is cheating. They all rally around them.
It was a united cause.
Exactly, there was. So if we identify a good cause, I'm sure we'll be able to carry the rank and file. Not necessarily, you might not be able to carry the whole people along, but the majority would, for God's sake, I think the majority would want to subscribe to a very good cause. To that extent, forming a pressure group along very, very national, patriotic, and fundamental things that will impact positively on the lives of the people, we should be able to carry the majority of the labor professional bodies along.
As we begin to round up now, we're looking at these incessant federal government union disputes in Nigeria. Just a minute, we have a message from Sunday Kukoye Ileife. If not that 90% of the doctors have private hospitals, will they go on strike over trivial issues? Tell me. I pity the helpless, ailing Nigerians. May God come to your rescue. Let's just take more of these comments on Facebook. Mary Williams from Lagos. Jonathan was treated for arthritis in Germany. He has no trust in the hospital in his own country. Will Angela Merkel come for treatment in Nigeria? When she had skying injury, she was admitted and treated in a German hospital, not Nigerian hospital. I really wonder, Mary, where you got the details of your message from about the president's sickness. But thank you for your contribution. Ugo Kanu from Onisha. Soon the doctors will go on strike because their gate man did not worship them as expected. If doctors were God. Do we have more? Victor James from Kogi. Other professionals in the health sector should be allowed to reach the peak of their careers. Administrators are best to handle hospitals. Currently, most hospitals are in shambles due to maladministration by medical doctors. Government should not be pushed by enemies' selfish ambition. And I guess we're just going to take the last one now from our Facebook page. Where is it? Okay, I think that's all we have from the Facebook medium. Just as we begin to round up now, how can we put an end to this frequent dispute between the federal government and labor unions in Nigeria?
My prescription is this, it may seem very, very radical, is that we should go back to what we used to have in the past. Scrap all this differential salary structure for different people in the society. That academician will earn a differential salary, medical doctor, nurses, and all that. Let's just have one uniform salary structure for all those who work for the civil service in this country, whether at the state level, at the local government level, at the federal level. What should be different in what in the take home of the people is maybe marking allowance for the teachers in the universities, night allowance or call allowance for the medical doctor, and then nurses, some other allowances and all that. So when you do have that, and then you now grade it from level 1 to 17, the medical doctor, for example, can be earning the salary of a permanent secretary at the federal level, and then ditto for the professors in the university. Once you have that kind of thing, you might be able to get back to stability. But with the differential salary that we now pay to different categories of people in the society, there's never going to be an end to this incessant strike in all these places.
Do you think that possibility, do you see that possibly seeing the light of the day, given the opposition that might arise from the different sectors?
It is difficult, but the lawmaker can legislate on that. It is difficult, but the National Assembly and the different state assembly can legislate on that if they feel it is going to help us stabilize the society. Because as of today, for example, almost about 70% of the nation's resources at the federal level and also at the local government and the state level are being used to pay the salaries and allowances of civil servants. What about you and I and other people who are not civil servants? The ordinary person who sells tomato or granite or another. Where will the resources come from to really even be able to fund all these hospitals, to be able to build new roads, to be able to expand the polytechnic and pay the salaries and allowances of teachers who are teaching the quality of education when all resources are used to service the civil servant? I think the civil service structure is consuming too much of our national resource that we need to do something very, very radical about that if this society is going to move forward.
Nigeria is at the risk of Ebola virus, and we hear this every day from Liberia to some neighboring West African countries. Now we have an enemy strike. What impact do you think that will have on the Nigeria fight not to see this virus coming into this country?
For now, we are very vulnerable when health workers are on strike. The nurses and the other ancillary staff that are holding for sooner than later, they will not be able to hold forth for too long, and the entire system will collapse. This is a state of emergency. The only remedy we have in that area is that if we are faced with such similar challenge, the Labour Minister could make an order compelling the medical doctors and some of these other people to return to work. In state of emergency, such powers lies with the Labour Minister to call them back to work.
Wouldn't that be too late if we are calling them back in the case of an emergency, health emergency?
Well, a lot of lives would have been lost, no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it, but within 24 hours, the Labour Minister can rush to the Industrial Court to file the necessary application to compel these very, very essential, important workers to go back to their...
If you have an opportunity to speak with the enemy as a pressure group, what would you tell them?
I will tell them that they should work with other professionals in this country to ensure that we have good governance in this country. If we have responsible people in the aim of affairs of this country at the local government level, at the state level and the federal level, they will know of the importance of allocating the national resources rationally to all the different phases and sectors of our life, so that no area of our life is going to suffer, whether it be education, whether it be health, whether it be road infrastructure, whether they be community areas that are ravaged by ecological challenges and disaster. Without good government, whatever concession you wrestle from government, soon is a pyrrhic victory, so to say. At the end of the day, you visualize with inflation, with other demands, other competing interests, and other. And then in 1 or 2 years again, you'll be forced again to embark on another round of strike, which for me is not too good for the society. But if you have good government at all levels, at all tiers of government and other, then the society should be able to move forward and everybody adequately catered for without discrimination. Because what the professionals are getting in this society today, either as NMA, either as academic staff, or either as even as footballers. Look at the kind of jumbo pegs that the people who went to play at the World Cup got and all that. For me, that is discriminatory. And no society should encourage discrimination.
As we count down to 2015, February is just around the corner. Are there lessons from this enemy strike that Nigerians do have to learn on their way to the polls?
A lot of lessons. You mentioned certain things that you said, is there any linkage between this incessant strike and then the election that we envisaged in 2015? It's difficult to say there's a linkage, but it's also not far-fetched to say there might be some linkages here and other. Why do I say this? You'll find out when elections are approaching, some of the places, certain people have lost election. Those who are sitting on their seats have rushed to start making concessions to workers in different places. So governors who have not been paying pensioners have started paying them. Those whose teachers have been on staff for very long because they have somebody has lost, certain person have lost elections, started paying those teachers who have been on strike for long. So you find that sometimes Labour too may say, look, this is a good time to embark on that because people are coming for election and then they don't want to lose election. Whatever demands we make, whatever we ask of them at this time, the possibilities that we're likely to get it. I think it's a logical way to look at some of these things.
Tony Kolawole is a legal practitioner and an exceptional public affairs commentator. Thank you once again for finding time to join us today. We've been talking about the lingering enemy strike. It's day 12 and people, average Nigerians, are there suffering, especially those who really need immediate medical care. Now, the big question is, what role does the federal government has to play? Already, the Minister of Health is saying we have absolutely met all the demands of the doctors, and then we already signed 2 memoranda of understanding with them. We were expecting them to actually cut off the strike earlier this week. On Monday, the doctors are saying until you pay the 6-month arrears, no pay, no work. Well, we are hopeful that all of this will come to an end very soon. That's our show today. Thank you for watching. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Join us again tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Core TV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, people's parliament from the national, state and local government assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station